Property developing is no longer just for grown-ups. More and more parents are setting up family property businesses to make the kids earn their keep.
Raise your hand if you want cladding. Raise your hand if you don't want cladding.
But working with your own flesh and blood can prove to be a bumpy ride.
I think she's mad, really. I think it's over-ambitious.
He just needs a bit of vision.
Over the country, parents are struggling to meet the soaring costs of university. Tonight, I meet two families who think that property development might be the answer to their problems. In Hertford, mature art student Karen Murphy reckons that this tiny Victorian cottage is the perfect gap year project for her 18-year-old son, Ben. Karen is project managing, and with all the profits going to his college fund, she's enlisted Ben as labourer.
I gave him the whole summer holidays to be lazy, but now he's got to do something.
I don't think I'm lazy. I think I'm motivationally challenged.
80 miles away in Balcombe, West Sussex, financial advisor Mark Fairall and his wife Linda are also turning property development into a family business, with their teenage children Ben and Hannah.
We decided to start property developing, mainly to raise university fees for us, and also, I guess, to spend time as a family.
But Mark and Linda are taking a major risk with their children's future. They've remortgaged the family home and bought this. A 1960s property that looks so dated they'll have to work miracles to make it appealing. It's a mammoth job that will take up the whole of the summer holidays. And I want to know how this family affair is really going to work. Who ultimately makes the decisions?
We have a meeting round our table at home and we discuss what we're going to do the following week and make major decisions.
Do you think this is going to work well? I mean, you seem to have it all sorted out.
It's worked so far, but we haven't actually had to do anything, so I think that's probably the key, Sarah. We'll,
In theory?
In theory, it's really good, yeah. But we'll see how it goes.
The reality will not be easy because the ground floor of this house has all sorts of problems. There's a tiny garage that's too small for a family car, a dilapidated lean-to, and a cramped kitchen. Worst of all, the only reception room has the front door off one side and the stairs off the other, making it little better than a corridor. But the Fairalls aren't dealing with any of these problems. Instead, they plan to build a huge kitchen diner on the ground floor of a two-storey extension for which they already have planning permission. The problem is they will be left with an impractical house that has an unusable and rather odd-looking garage slap bang in the middle of it.
The extension is going to be back from the garage. Depending how we disguise it with bushes, hopefully it won't look as though it's stuck right in the middle.
We've had lots of different ideas around our board meetings and this is the best we could come up with.
To have the garage in the middle of the house, which it will be once you've extended to the side, just feels a little clumsy, really. The existing garage could be put to far better use as a spacious entrance hall. Then building a bigger extension to the side would allow for a proper-sized garage. That would be big enough to comfortably fit a modern family car. There'd still be plenty of room behind for a generous-sized kitchen diner, and you wouldn't have to walk through the sitting room to get to the rest of the house because the stairs would be relocated into the new entrance hall, solving all the problems with the downstairs layout.
We were going to do exactly that. The advice from the builder was that the levels were wrong. You would need to dig out the concrete floor that the garage is. It's just built up too high. And his recommendation was that was just too much extra cost that would be more difficult to recoup.
I mean, I can understand why he doesn't want to do it, because it's not very nice. Not a very nice job. No one wants to do it, but I don't think that's a very good justification for leaving it there, that the floor needs digging out myself.
A garage is a garage. It's in the middle, it's in the middle.
Are you reluctant to go back to planning at this stage?
If we thought it was absolutely the right thing to do, then might. I haven't got an objection to going back to planning. But yeah, I wouldn't want to delay it too much.
Even if it means going back to planning, the Fairall family have to make the right decisions now to maximise the value of their property. They bought the house for £285,000, have a budget of £108,000 and hope to sell for £415,000. By buying in a rising market, they could get a lot more. But as it stands, they're looking at a slim £22,000 profit. What's worse, a share of that is going to the builder.
He'll forego his normal profit margin on the basis that we will give him a percentage of our profit when we sell.
So what percentage profit are you?
Again, we still need to do the absolute figures, but we're going to sit down and then we'll work out exactly what those costs will be.
Right. Before you start, will you get a contract with him? I mean, at the moment... No.
You telling us he should?
I would, if I was you, because it is quite complex. And from my point of view, as an outsider looking at it, I just think, oh my God, this is a minefield. Entering into a partnership without a formal contract is brave and perhaps a little foolhardy. A solicitor would charge around £300 to draw one up, which I think is money well spent. The very least you should do is put the agreement down on paper yourselves. If the Fairalls' deal with the builder goes sour, they could easily end up waving goodbye to both their profit and their children's university fund. In Hertford, the Murphy family could have an equally hard time filling up the college coffers, as mature art student Karen wants to stamp her artistic vision all over this development.
It just cried out, really, that it wanted restoring. It just needed some TLC. And I really just wanted to do it.
Ben, roped in to work as labourer, isn't as enthusiastic.
When I first saw the house, I just thought, good God, what has she bought?
This Victorian property is certainly a challenge. It's dark, dilapidated, and will need a lot of work to make it a profitable development. Karen bought the house for £170,000 and has an impossibly tiny budget of just £20,000. She's aiming to smash the ceiling price in the road and sell for £210,000, making a £20,000 profit. The problem is some of Karen's ideas could lower rather than raise the value of this property.
I'd like to incorporate glass walling in the bathroom and in the kitchen, doing glass splashbacks. And I also want to put in things like fibre optic lightings in the ceiling in the bathroom and uplighters.
You're trying to make something out of this cottage that it simply isn't. This is a small, quaint, cute cottage, and that's what it is. It's stuffed full of original features. And you'll find that under the doors, under here, that you've got the original cottage doors here. What do you reckon?
I think going for a certain amount of modernness would be a good idea, but I think fibre optics, glass, really modern lighting effects might be taking it a tad too far in the traditional cottage.
And to that you say?
Nothing.
That's loyalty for you, isn't it? This is the charm of this house. So go with it. Use what you've got. You haven't got enough money not to, quite honestly.
Yeah.
The last thing Ben wants to see is his college fund disappearing in a creative flight of fancy. If Mum gets her way, he could be one very hard art student. In Hertford, Karen Murphy is planning to turn property development into a family business with her 18-year-old son, Ben. She's hoping they'll make £20,000 from this Victorian terraced house to pay for Ben's way through university. It's a tiny, worn-out property, and 6'4" Ben is having a hard time seeing its potential. So you're doing all the labouring on this site, and you can't even stand up?
Yeah, it's going to be a fun build.
Do you think this is a wise plan?
I think she's mad, really. I think it's over-ambitious.
Right.
He just needs a bit of vision.
The problem is Karen's vision is so individual, it may well put off a lot of buyers. She's determined to use the property to showcase her own artwork, and her plans for the layout are just as singular. There are 2 double bedrooms upstairs, which Karen plans to leave as they are. Downstairs there's a lounge, a kitchen, and the property's only bathroom. Here, Karen wants to relocate the kitchen to an unorthodox location at the front of the house. She then plans to move the lounge to the back, building out into the courtyard with a costly glass-walled extension. These plans are unnecessary and, on their minuscule £20,000 budget, complete fantasy. I think with the amount of money you've got, you want to keep it as simple as possible, this. But I'm not sure what you're achieving by doing all of this work.
My rationale for putting the kitchen into the front room is because of the noise from the road, really.
Ben, do you agree with your mum?
Well, I personally don't really like the idea of putting the kitchen in the front room. I think I'm a traditional at heart. I would much rather walk into a sitting room than a kitchen.
I think you won't be alone in not wanting to walk off the street into the kitchen. I think there's a much better solution. You know, there is one thing that, if you do it, it will really sell this house, and it's going to make the most that you possibly can on the development, and that is to get a bathroom upstairs. And I think you can do it, and I think you can get a bathroom in this room. There's enough room in this back bedroom to build an all-important upstairs bathroom, still leaving a second bedroom that's large enough to take a small double bed. This would also free up room downstairs to create a much-needed extra living space off the kitchen without the need to pay for a costly extension.
My concern is that I'd be taking away from this good-sized double bedroom.
But it's still not a bad size, and I think it will make a massive impact. There's a lot of people who won't buy a house if the bedrooms and the bathroom aren't on the same floor.
Right. It does take away my wonderful wow factor that I was going to put in my bathroom downstairs, though.
Oh no, did you have a wow factor in mind? What was that?
Well, what I'd planned to do down there was to have a whole glass wall all the way round.
I'm not convinced that you should be using this house as a showcase for kind of creative flares here and there. So maybe it's not a bad thing to move the bathroom up here. Karen needs a complete rethink. If she doesn't, Ben could end up without a single penny for university. In Balcombe, it's week 1 of the Fairall family's development, and work is underway to build the foundations for their massive extension on the side of the property. I think they should make their extension even bigger to accommodate a proper-sized garage as well as their proposed kitchen diner. But the Fairalls are digging their heels in.
We decided not to move the garage because we didn't want to wait for planning, which would then delay us another 8 weeks and actually incur more mortgage costs.
They're fixed on leaving the garage right in the middle of the property. But it's the perfect spot for an impressive entrance hall. It would give this house the facelift it so badly needs and provide a new location for those awkward stairs in the lounge. What's more, this garage is simply too small to be practical. And so I've come along with 3 different sized cars for a bit of an experiment.
I can't believe that a builder would put a house up that doesn't fit a normal sized car.
Have you tried getting a car in it?
I think a car will go in it.
You reckon?
Yeah.
Gonna open it up then. You reckon that's fine? Here we are.
Thank you.
Bring them in. First up is a small 4x4, a family favourite.
That's it, no, gently.
I'm not convinced that climbing out of the back is an acceptable way to enter your vehicle. Next is the typical family saloon.
I do intend to get out.
It's not tight at all, is it?
No. Loads of them.
Finally, a microcar. Hardly a winner with the family market. So what we've established is a car the same size as a scooter can go in the garage. OK, so what do you reckon? Front hall?
Garage.
What about you? What's the vote? Do you
Yeah,
vote?
I agree with my dad.
we definitely need a garage.
Oh my goodness, so unanimous. 4 of you voting to keep it. It's your house, your money. I don't think I've ever seen a family quite this united. The truth is, it's all about finances. The Fairalls have finally drawn up an agreement with their builder, giving him a 15% share of the profits. But now they're so fixated on keeping the costs down, they're not making the right choices for this development. Their builder has agreed to give them labour and materials for cost at £53,000. They want to get the kitchen and 2 bathrooms for an ambitious £10,000. £7,000 has been allocated for furnishing and decoration, and they've allowed £31,000 for professional costs and interest repayments. With a contingency of £7,000, the Fairalls' total budget is £108,000. But I'm not sure that's enough to make the very best of this property. Inside, the biggest problem is the corridor-like living room, which is just a thoroughfare for the rest of the house. The solution the Fairalls have come up with is, in my opinion, just another compromise.
And keeping the garage. I think maybe if you put a wall across here, and another one across, right out the way, Mum, across there.
So this gives you the corridor?
Yeah, it gives you a nice corridor.
So that's everything Sarah wanted us to achieve. We've got a front door with a hallway.
Yes.
We've got a stairway not off the lounge anymore, and we get to keep the garage.
Yes.
I don't see why Sarah...
They plan to chop up the space by building a corridor from the front door to the stairs, making one spacious area into 2 smaller and much less appealing living rooms. The Fairalls are in danger of selling themselves and their university fund seriously short. In Hertford, the Murphy family are 2 weeks into their development. They've decided not to move the kitchen to the front of the house, but they're sticking to their guns over the bathroom.
I think it's a bit much hassle to move it upstairs because it's all plumbed in downstairs already.
We've only got one toilet. It doesn't really matter where it is.
The problem is, it will matter to most people. Karen and Ben won't get their ambitious £210,000 asking price without moving the bathroom. Not having a bathroom downstairs and having it upstairs is going to change this house from being an OK layout to a really good layout, and it'll make it stand out from all the other houses on the street. Would you rather have an upstairs bathroom?
I personally am not. It doesn't bother me.
So it wouldn't bother you climbing up and down these tiny little stairs. And if you had somebody staying who wanted to go to bed early and you were still wanting to be up, they'd have to come downstairs in their dressing gown into the bathroom here. Then they'd have to be saying hello to all the guests going upstairs, all banging their head on the way, coming back down. I mean, it's a really impractical layout. Bear in mind the fringe benefit of having the bathroom upstairs, that you end up with a really nice space down here, which will work perfectly for your potential market. Great. It's a make or break decision, and 2 days later the Murphys have made up their minds.
I've decided that I'm definitely going to go with her plan, move the bathroom upstairs and to make the downstairs bathroom into the dining room. I've had some really good ideas and really turn it into a really sexy little bathroom.
A great decision, and while I hope Karen doesn't get too carried away with her designs, it's great to see her so keen about the project. Which is more than can be said for Ben.
I would have liked him to be much more enthusiastic and wanting to get really involved, but he's rather too fond of his bed at the moment.
I don't think there was ever really a chance of me being on site for 8 o'clock in the morning. No, I've left school now. I'm quite happy to never get up at 7 o'clock again.
Ben's not on site very often, and I suspect he isn't taking his labouring role too seriously, judging by his footwear.
My shoes are filled with stuff now.
Ben, I'll go and get your trainers.
His laid-back demeanour is certainly not helping the site move forward. Delays cost money, and Ben needs to remember it is his university fund that he's eating into. 80 miles away in Balcombe, the Fairall family are showing a much more unified front.
We still need a cement mixer. An hour, that's fine.
It's week 8 of the development and they're on budget and on schedule. But leaving the garage in the middle of the house is doing nothing to improve this already unattractive property, and I'm worried it will be very difficult to sell. The Fairalls are beginning to agree, and they set off as a family to do some research.
I do like the pitched roofs. I think that takes away the plainness.
After a whole day traipsing around the neighbourhood, there's one inescapable conclusion.
Basically, we've got a house that looks like a bit of an ugly duckling and we just really don't know how to turn it into a beautiful swan.
Well, Hannah, there is one solution that will completely transform the front of this house. And Mum and Dad will be glad to know it's not going to cost a fortune. What I'm suggesting is that you use some kind of wooden cladding. Now, I've got various examples here. This is a painted cladding. This is a larch cladding. This is thermo wood. But my favourite would be this cedar cladding here. If you can imagine this cladding along the top where the tiles are, and if you change the garage door, you could really transform this place. What do you reckon?
I like the idea. I like the thermo wood, how it overlaps, but I like the colour of the cedar.
What do you two reckon?
I don't like it.
What do you reckon, Ben?
I'm not so sure. I think maybe it could grow on me. It's just a bit different.
Shed-like.
The advantage with cladding is that it's cheap to do, it's easy to do, and your end result is going to be a more saleable house. Timber cladding is a popular choice for contemporary building. You can create a dramatic design with an affordable price tag. At around £25 per square metre, it's half the cost of more traditional clay tiles. You can tailor the wood to suit your style, although the rich colour of cedar is a popular choice. It's a good option for the Fairalls and could transform their mundane property into an eye-catching contemporary home. In Hertford, making any kind of decision about the development is the last thing on Ben's mind. He seriously needs to get stuck into this project, and I've decided to intervene. For today, at least, Ben will be my apprentice. But I gather you've been doing quite a lot of this in your sandals, so I bought you a present.
Oh.
The biggest boots in the universe.
I am very impressed that you managed to find a pair of those.
So today, you're going to help me and we're going to wire this room. So get your boots on and let's get cracking. The back box has to be 600 off the finished floor level, but measure it off the joist so that it's exact, because the courses of brick aren't necessarily level.
Which brick was it, that one?
Yeah, that's why you've got a pencil in your hand, Vic.
You need to chisel it out enough so that the back box sits half deep into the wall. Lovely jubbly, it's looking perfect. The cable has to run through here. You're going to screw the back box to the wall. And then you just roll it up into a circle and stick it into the box, and it's out of the way. And that's it.
Right, one down, 20 to go.
Yeah.
This is great, actually. He's learnt something now, and he can actually come on site and actually get stuck in with doing an actual part of the trade's work.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Karen's hopes are short-lived.
Ben was chopping in a few boxes, then Sarah went, and then unfortunately we didn't see Ben at all for a little while. To be perfectly honest, I don't think he's interested one little bit.
If Karen can't find a way of motivating Ben, this could spell the end of the Murphy & Son development team. Back in Balcombe, the Fairall family are doing a brilliant job of sharing responsibility. Top of their agenda is to banish the lacklustre appearance of their development. I feel cladding the property in wood is the answer, and to help them visualise the end result, I've organised for them to visit this development just 6 miles away.
I really, really love it.
I still think tiles are best. They're just so normal.
There's nothing wrong in setting a trend.
Can I just tell you, in history, More pioneers get shot than settlers. And on our first development, I really don't want to get shot.
Raise your hand if you want cladding.
I haven't got any more hands.
Raise your hand if you don't want cladding.
I think that's it then, Mum.
I've lost.
It's certainly democratic, but the problem still remains. The Fairalls must find a way to give their property a dramatic facelift. In Balcombe, the Fairall family are 12 weeks into their ambitious plan to extend this drab and dated property into a luxury family home. They're on budget and on schedule, and that's because up until now, the Fairall family business has been run with the precision of a city boardroom.
OK, well, raise your hand if you like Dad's new idea.
But with Ben and Hannah back at school, the balance of power has shifted and there's blood on the carpet.
I'm afraid I've got a confession to make. I've actually taken out the door in the kitchen along the side here, down the alleyway. The kitchen designer said that it would look better with more units down the side.
I would think that on the practical side, we do need a back door there.
Yeah, it's a little bit annoying she's made that decision without us, but it will make the interior of the kitchen far more attractive.
Mum may have taken control, but her first decision isn't her best. Without a side door from the kitchen to the outside, anyone buying this family house will have a long trek in with all the shopping. And all the muddy boots will be coming in through the front door. I want everyone to pick up 2 bags.
How come I get the heaviest one?
Because life's never fair. So you have to come through here, through the front hallway, and then through the doors into the sitting room with your shopping, through here, through this next door, all the way through here. You're still going with all your shopping to get to the kitchen. Right. Now, have I illustrated my point? Mm-hmm. One of the big problems with this house is that it flowed very badly. You have rectified that by building a hallway, but now you're making your new sitting room into a corridor again, which you don't have to have by having a door to the side here.
I guess how many people will think that through as they're looking around and about to buy the house?
I'd have thought any family would think that through really pretty hard. I also am not convinced that it's going to look worse with a door.
To come in here and see the kitchen as we've got it designed, I think it will look a much better kitchen without a door in it.
So what do you feel?
I say Mum's in charge. I'm not getting into it.
Compromising the entire ground floor layout for the sake of a few extra kitchen units is absolute madness. But Mum and Dad's decision is final. In Hertford, the Murphy family are 7 weeks into their 12-week development. Labourer Ben is as reluctant as ever.
I'm quite happy to have as little input as possible. Just do what I'm told to do and then be done with it.
It's his university fund at stake, and now more than ever, Ben needs to be involved in his mum's decisions. Karen's determined to shoehorn her own very contemporary glasswork into this development, as well as installing permanent multicoloured light displays throughout the property. But it's not Karen's very striking 21st century artwork, it's the 19th century features that will sell this house. And she should be playing up this property's quirky angles, original fireplaces and latch doors. But there are ways to fuse period features with contemporary style. So I'm taking her and Ben to this converted Victorian water tower in nearby Hertford Heath. What they've done here with this amazing building is work with what they've got. And as you'll see inside, they're not denying what it originally was. They're working with that, and that's what I think you have to do with your house, right, so that when it's finished, it feels cohesive. Inside, they've made no attempt to disguise the water tank or original brickwork. But the understated quality of the modern slate flooring and minimal furniture means the new doesn't fight the old. Imagine your space, but imagine here there was a fibre optic glass installation on the wall. It would be quite a lot in this room.
The glass and the lighting issues are about who I am and what makes it special for it to have been my development as opposed to somebody else's.
I think such a permanent expression of yourself, probably you shouldn't weave into the fabric of the building. Upstairs, the bathroom is a purely contemporary room. But as a self-contained area, this is one place you can make more of a statement. And while Karen's first idea sounds really quite inspired,
I'm planning on taking up the floorboards and casting them in glass and putting back glass floorboards.
I'm not so sure about the second.
And then having fibre optic lights actually into the side of the bath.
Oh, in the bath?
Yeah.
I think to have fibre optic lights in the bath is perhaps taking it one step too far.
We've got such a tiny bathroom, so maybe I'm just trying to make amends for that.
You have got a tiny bathroom, but you've also got a tiny profit margin, so
yeah, okay.
Guard them both closely.
Okay.
It's a hard truth to swallow for a creative person like Karen.
I want to do all these really exciting things, and I feel a bit upset, really, that Sarah doesn't seem to share my enthusiasm for the things I want to put in there.
Karen's spirits are low, but this cloud has an unexpected silver lining. It's taken 10 weeks, but Ben finally realises he has to step in and give his mum and the development a lift.
I'd be quite happy to just leave it for somebody else to do it, but of course it's me and my mum, you know, kind of our own boss. It's got to get done, so I've got to come down and do it.
It's really great to see Karen and Ben working as a team. This development is looking like a real family business for the very first time.
You right out there, Ben?
In Balcombe, 11 weeks in and only 2 weeks over schedule, the Fairall family is pushing hard to keep the project on track.
Because what I want is rooms to be done and crossed off, so this room is going to be done this week. Sure.
With the development in its final stages, choosing the kitchen is the last big decision to be made.
We've chosen a dark laminate work surface purely for quickness and reduce the cost of the budget. I hope that it will all look okay.
But it won't. You can't stick a cheap laminate work surface in a property you're hoping to sell for over £400,000. Mark and Linda need a rethink. Just 10 minutes down the road, this 4-bedroom home is in the same price bracket and also aimed squarely at the family market. Now, this, I think, is the main room that you should be looking at.
Wow. Huge room.
The kitchen breakfast room is so incredibly important in your development because there are a lot of other compromises with the house, and this is the one room that you could make truly spectacular. And I'm really worried that if you use a laminate on the worktop, that one selling feature will be wasted. It's no mistake that the work surface in this kitchen is costly granite. It rarely costs less than £150 a metre, but it oozes quality, and that's exactly what buyers will be looking for.
The laminate is not what I really wanted.
So how did you end up with laminate then?
Because the place that I got the kitchen from, I felt the worktops could all be made to measure, delivered on the day, and there would be no fuss. That's the reason we did it. Mm.
So ease, really?
Yeah.
But neither of you been particularly keen on it?
I think it was always a compromise in order to hit deadlines.
And maybe one compromise too far.
Yes.
I think you're right, Sarah.
For once, the Fairalls are loosening their grip on the purse strings. I'm sure it's a decision they won't regret. In Hertford, 12 weeks after they set out, the Murphy family have come to the end of their development. They've turned this Victorian cottage into something quite special. By keeping the kitchen at the back of the house and moving the bathroom upstairs, they've created a fantastic open-plan kitchen diner. And on the ground floor, at least, Karen's toned down her artwork to get the blend of old and new just right. Now, this is pretty spectacular, isn't it? Gosh, the difference is amazing. And notice that you didn't go with the fibre optic option in the end.
Yes, I thought long and hard about what you'd said, actually, and I thought, let's go for something a bit more calming and restful in the space.
It's not that often that I go into houses and think, oh gosh, I could live here, and this is one that I just think, oh, I'd quite like to live here. This would be really nice.
Thank you. Lovely.
They've made the very best of upstairs as well. Pinching space from the second bedroom and creating a bathroom up here has really hauled the property into the 21st century. But there might be one area it's been hauled a bit too far. I'll give you the floorboards. I think they look great. But I've got to say, I think the fibre optics in the bath is one step too far. And if I was looking around this house, I'd think I've got to replace the bath.
Oh, I really love it. I think this is my... Having a bath is my one time when I actually get to calm down, relax and unwind, and I think I'd love to just lie in there and be bathed in that lovely...
Yellow water.
tranquil colour.
But it's only one small floor in an otherwise spectacular development. The question is, how much did all of this end up eating into Ben's college fund? You originally planned to spend 20,000, didn't you?
Yes, we have spent 34,000.
Gosh, a lot more than originally planned. Although I actually think that the 20,000 was completely unrealistic and 34 was just sensible. You always wanted to smash the ceiling price in the area, which is closer to about 200,000. You've actually spent 204,000, so you're going to have to smash the ceiling price unless you want to make a loss. How much do you think it's worth now?
I'm just hoping that it is 210,000.
I think it's worth a bit more now. 220, I'd
reckon.
I'd guess, yeah.
Oh, I hope so, but...
If they did sell for £220,000, Ben would have £16,000 to take off to university. So what do the agents think?
Kept the actual character of the property, but within a modern twist with the contemporary fireplace and the oak flooring.
It's a really clever use of space. By maximising sort of the ground floor accommodation, they have really maximised the price itself of the property.
Bit of a personal touch with the glass tiled floor and the fibre optics in the bath. Great fun, but doesn't really add value.
I value this property at £210,000.
I would value this property at £215,000.
We've had two agents in and they valued it at £210,000 and £215,000.
Not as good as I'd hoped.
If you sold at the lowest figure, you'd make a £6,000 profit. If you'd sold at the highest figure, you'd make an £11,000 profit.
That's fine. That's just such a relief that we haven't made...
Yeah.
No, I was hoping for 210, so that's fine. At least we haven't made a loss.
I don't think you should be too despondent. You've done such a great job that I think that you've got a very good chance of getting more than the agents suggested.
Yeah, look, if you've got a nice little pot of money, whatever it is to go off to university with, that's got to be good, especially with having developed a skill base as well.
Yep.
You can go off and do your own development in Swansea now.
That's
Do you think you will?
Not a chance.
It turns out that the buyers were prepared to pay well over the asking price for this development. Karen and Ben sold it for £240,000, making Ben an amazing £36,000 to take to university. Lucky boy. In Balcombe, it's the last push to get this property finished and on the market, and the Fairalls are brimming with confidence. You were hoping to get £415,000. How much do you think it now is worth?
470 to me would be absolutely realistic.
In Balcombe, West Sussex, 17 weeks after they started, the Fairall family's development is finally finished. This modest three-bedroom house has been transformed into a substantial family home. I personally still have a problem with the way this property looks. The garage is an eyesore and their choice of red tiles for the front of this house is drearily suburban. It's a different house altogether now, isn't it?
Nice garage, though, isn't it?
It is a nice garage, but it is still in the middle, and let's just hope that whoever buys the house doesn't have a 4x4. I see the cladding ideas disappeared altogether.
You've got to admit the tiles do look a lot better than the cladding would have.
No, that's what I'm not admitting to. In fact, that kind of seemed to be a bit of a Fairall family trait, didn't it? You would have a chat, I'd suggest something, you'd go away, you'd think about it, and then you'd do something completely different to what you were going to do or I suggested. Inside is unrecognisable. The new living room has a contemporary feel with some bold, if not unusual, touches. Next door, the ramshackle lean-to has been turned into a large kitchen diner that should hit the spot with the family market. I'm really glad to see that you upped the specification of the worktop. This is a fantastic room and a massive success.
It just has all come together really, really well.
Though there is one big flaw. Without a separate side entrance, it's a long way from the front of the house to the kitchen. I would put money on the fact that if you came back to this house in 5 years, someone will have put a door there, because it would really annoy them that they have to either come through the house or they'll pass all their shopping through the window, which would be really annoying. Kitchen door aside, this extension is a valuable addition to the property. Upstairs, they've built a master suite, which adds a touch of luxury to this family home. The Fairalls have added a huge amount of space to this development. The question is, did they manage to stick to their £108,000 budget? So how much did you end up spending in the end?
It's worked out at £118,000.
And that is a really good achievement. You're only £10,000 over what you initially hoped.
Nobody really sticks to their budget anyway, so I think that was pretty good.
That is not the attitude.
We did spend all the...
The Fairall family kept a remarkably tight grip on their budget. Labour and materials came in just over at £56,500. But they saved on the kitchen and the bathrooms, coming in at £9,400. Furnishing and decoration costs rose by £1,300. And all of their £7,000 contingency went on the cosmetic changes to the front of the property. Professional costs and interest repayments went from £31,000 to £37,100, meaning the Fairalls' final budget rose from £108,000 to £118,300. It's only £10,000 over, but their margins were so small to begin with, that's eaten up nearly half the profit they were aiming to make. Now, you were hoping to get £415,000 for this development, which would give you a £12,000 profit. How much do you think it now is worth?
I think now we'll be very disappointed with 415 because we have spent that extra money.
For 4 months' work, I'd be devastated.
Really?
Why would you be
so
devastated? There's still a lot
tell
of
me
money.
what level would you be pleased at?
I would like 470.
The Fairalls now want to sell for a massive £55,000 more than they originally hoped for. Will the agents agree?
The only downside of this room probably is having to go through it to the kitchen, which I think may be a slight off-putting factor to some potential buyers.
The granite work surfaces and the walnut floor really finish it off, and I think buyers will appreciate that touch of class.
There's no doubt about it, the house has been completely transformed by the two-storey extension. We've got the superb master bedroom suite.
The front of the property is slightly unusual, having the garage in the middle of it. I would recommend an asking price of £450,000.
I value this property at £490,000.
I would value this house at £500,000.
I have had 3 estate agents in to value the property, and they've come in at 450, 490 and 500.
Wow.
Wow.
That's good.
Wow.
After you've paid Neil, the builder, the 15% that you agreed to pay him for doing this project, you would then end up with between £40,000 and £83,000 profit.
Wow.
That's a very big university fund.
Yeah.
I think it is a very, very successful property development. You have been in a rising market, and this is a very, very popular place to live. And what is available is rising fast in value.
Right, no, that's superb. If they can come out of university debt-free, that's our goal. That's what we want to achieve.
First, they've got to find a buyer prepared to pay up to £500,000 for the property.
Wow. It's huge.
Like the granite.
It's an ideal house for entertaining, and we do quite a bit of entertaining, so it's great.
Wow, now this is a big bedroom, isn't it?
If you're going to spend £500,000 on a house, I think you need to sort of arrive in your car, pull up and think, wow, this is the house. It's a lot of money to spend, and it just doesn't do that for me, doesn't it? Shush.
I think the front of the house looks a little bit strange with the garage being right in the middle. It probably would have made more sense if the garage was over on the left-hand side.
The Fairalls have made some mistakes, but this property's value will have been massively boosted by a fast-rising market. So is this the start of a huge family property empire?
I think it could be. I think we've really, well, I've certainly enjoyed working together.
I think some parts are enjoyable and some parts...
Enjoyed is an interesting word to use. Spending time with the family is quite, you know, you don't really get to do that much.
I would like to do something completely different next. I've learnt a lot from this. I'd like to do perhaps a new build or maybe a small refurbishment. You get a bit of a bug, don't you?
Both the Fairalls in Balcombe and the Murphys in Hertford took a big gamble turning to property development to fill up their college fund. But it's paid off. The children are well on their way to getting through university without mountainous student debt. And these days, that is a rare privilege indeed. 2 months later, the Fairall family sold the property for £500,000, making a great £83,000 profit. And they're already on the lookout for their next development.